Okay, so good morning, guys. So going from factors, we are going to start, because you need to start using that mental math. We're also going to now look at estimating. Okay, so estimating is the mathematics that someone would require, where if you go into a shop and if something is 0.95 JD, you don't usually go, oh, that's 0.95 JD. What do you usually say? You say, oh, that's 1 JD. Okay, so that's what estimating is about. It's about just getting stuff together. So the official way you've kind of learned it is by rounding to one significant figure. So it's a bit of a recap on that. But then you'll notice that we do also go into factors. So I'm going to start on this sheet. It should be nice and easy. And then we'll get you on another one where you can check stuff out. So if I was to look at these answers, what would I do? So it does actually just tell you what you need to do. So I'm not too worried about this exact answer column, so don't worry about that. We're looking at question, the rounded question, and then the estimated answer. So if someone does tell you to estimate, you would not be using your trusty calculator, okay? That is not going to be used in estimating. Estimating is something that should be nice and easy, and you can do it in your head. So if you know your times table and you're able to kind of find out stuff from factors, this should be relatively simple, okay? So if I look at the first one, I've got 6.7 times 31, okay? So instead of 6.7, I don't really know my 6.7 times tables, but I do know my 7 times table, okay? So for 6.7, you need to round to one significant figure. So if I was rounding to one significant figure, I'd say, well, this is my first significant figure, so is that 7 going to make the 6 go up or stay the same? So in this case, the 7 is going to make the 6 go up. And you do the same thing with 31. I would say, well, that's my first significant figure because it's my first non-zero. Is the 1 going to make the 3 go up or just stay the same? So it's going to stay the same, so it would be 30. Okay, so then we have 7 times 30. So going off what we were doing last lesson, I would say, well, I know what 7 times 3 is, which is 21. And using that fact, I would then just be able to multiply that by 10 because it's 7 times 3 times 10. That's the way I've mentally done it. Okay, I don't actually go through my 30 times table. I know my 3 times table. So it'd be 21 times 10, which is 210. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So then we look at the next one, which is 8.9 times 54. So we're doing exactly the same thing. I'm saying, well, that's my first non-zero. That's my first non-zero. So now I just need to round them. Is the 9 going to make the 8 go up or stay the same? It'll go up. So that's 9. Is the 4 going to make the 5 go up or stay the same? It would stay the same. So it'll be 9 times 50, which is my 9 times 5 times 10. So 9 times 5 is 45 times 10, which is then 450. This would be my estimated answers. So if you want to pause and then just try and see if you can get through the remaining questions. So pause now, because I'm now going to show you the answers. Okay, so hopefully you should have got something similar to this. So just make sure you put it to one decimal place, and then that would get you to this kind of answer. Okay. Okay, so what you will probably notice for this next one is division. Division can work in exactly the same way. Division is usually when your factor work is going to come a lot into play as well. So if I've got 36 divided by 16, I would say, well, this would round to 40, this would round to 20, 40 divided by 20 would just be 2. Okay, and then you've got 88 divided by 26. So 88 becomes 90, this becomes 30, so then this becomes 3. And you can follow the same format. Okay, when you might start getting slightly different stuff is, say if I had 18 over 8. Would I round that to 20 over... well, you wouldn't say 10 because it wouldn't go to 10. You'd say 8, right? So otherwise, what I would do with this one is you might think 20 over 10, which would get you a nice answer of 2. Or alternatively, you'd think 18 over 9 would equal 2, okay? This just means approximate. You know the wiggly? That's all it means. It just means approximate. This is equal, this is approximate. So this is where your factors come into play. So you would start thinking about what your actual factors are. So when you say 18, you would say, oh, it's the 9 times table. So a factor of 18 is 9. So if I did 18 divided by 9, that would get me 2. Or you would say, well, if I'm rounding that to 20, then a factor of 20 would be 10, which would also get me to the same one. So this is when you have to start thinking a little beyond just significant figures. So if you do significant figures, that's a very that's the first step that you need to do. So if you just want to run really basic and just practice really basic, just do this exactly. Round each number to one significant figure, and then you can estimate the answer from it. Whereas if you want to go just a step higher than that, then what you do start to do is start bringing in your factors. And then once you have your factors, you'll be able to do a bit more. So if I was to say do, some of you might know your square numbers. Hopefully you do. So this is for the people that know their square numbers. If I said the square root of 24, you can otherwise use a calculator, or if you know that that's near enough the square root of 25, which is then 5, that would then be your answer, okay? So some of you, if you are thinking about something a bit more challenging, you have to start thinking about your factors, you need to start thinking about your square numbers. Occasionally you might think about cubes. So I have told you previously that you should be learning your square numbers up to the first 15 and your cube numbers up to the first 8. So if you know them, then approximation does become much, much simpler. So if I just bring up the work you're doing. Okay, so I would like you to start going through this sheet. It does, the difficulty does kind of start getting a little bit more difficult. So just obviously do with the time as you can, because I have told you to do some other work as well. So obviously it's going to take more than just like a 10-minute video because you did pause. You are drawing everything out for the other exercise. Okay, so for this one, obviously follow the same. When you start getting to stuff like 13 over 6, 13 over 6, that kind of stuff is where you have to start thinking about your factors, and then it goes down to square roots and everything as well. And then for those people that want to try a bit more difficult, you've got section B, which is all wordy, and it kind of tells you to estimate the value of 4.8 multiplied by 1.2, which you should just be able to write down and then use the same method as you did up here. Okay, so if you do have any queries, please let me know, but otherwise stay safe and make sure you get your vitamin D. And I don't know, what else do you want? Have a nice day. So sorry. I'm fasting. I think I've had too much sugar right now. But anyway, take care. Have a nice day. Okay?